to the meeting, and we will allow any opportunity for anyone to announce any conflict of interest of which they might be aware. And if you have anything that comes up in the course of the meeting, of course, you can mention it then. We expect you to mention it then. Okay, we'll move on to the minutes from the April 20th meeting, which we held by Zoom. Are there any corrections or additions?
I'll move the acceptance of the minutes.
I'll second it.
Sheila and then Cindy. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes from the April 20th Zoom council meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay, just a minute here. Gotta make this longer. Cindy, have you got your picture there too? You do. Well, I wish I could see everybody at once here. All right, carried. All right, do we have any delegations this evening?
Nope, no delegations.
Okay. Then we'll move on to unfinished business. 5A, COVID-19 updates.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, so this one, I sort of broke these up based on level of government. The first one and the federal government one, what's kind of slick with their presentation is the development of their website. So I'll click on it and hopefully it'll take us right there. So this is the, instead of me going through the different programs, I just thought I'd show council and the media. I'm sure you guys have already been on these sites, but these are all the different programs that the province has, or sorry, the federal government has now. And there's a lot, and it seems to change every couple of days. They're coming out with new programs and new announcements. A lot of these programs I know our local businesses have applied for, and the credit programs for businesses. Now, one program that we've been looking at to sort of help some of the students out potentially is this youth employment and skills strategy, and they haven't announced that, but strategy to help youth develop skills and gain experience they need to successfully transition in the labor market. So there's potentially some support there for students. There's going to be a further announcement on that, is my understanding. So then there's some different programs there. I guess a lot of the local businesses are well versed with this, and I know a lot of the people have applied for the CERB program thing. So it's kind of good the way they broke it out and things. So there's a whole bunch of different programs, and I think I sort of mentioned earlier that if you don't see a program today, that hopefully there might be one tomorrow type thing. But the federal government certainly has a lot of programs. Now I understand this Canada Emergency Response Benefit 4 weeks up to 16 weeks program. So I know there's a lot of people who have taken advantage of that program. So it's a very good resource tool on what the federal government has. I guess anybody have any questions on the federal government response? I'm sure you guys have probably all looked at this stuff anyways. Yeah, okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so then the next one is on the provincial website, and the province is doing a lot better job now than when we first started down this path. They're doing a great job with their website. So they've got sort of a main page that you can go to and then go to all the other things off that, the self-assessment tool. And we're obviously still encouraging people that if you're showing any of the symptoms to take that or call the 811 number. And the Stay Safe, Stay Informed, which has a recovery plan and some of the other strategies that the province is using. It also has the caseload in New Brunswick, total number of tests, all that information. It's great that we only have 2 active cases in the province right now that we're aware of right now, which is great, with no one in the hospital, which is even better. And this part down here, they show every day the different updates for cases and news release, and the province has been doing, and both the federal government, they've both been doing daily press conferences and I know quite a few people in council have been watching those. I know our mayor's been watching them quite religiously at 2:30 every day. And the thing. So these are all the different ones. So if you're looking again for support and guidance on their website, you can just go down and click on businesses, and it will take you to all the business information. And what's also on here, I'm sure council members have read this. This is the new mandatory order released last week, the link to that. So the mandatory order had some changes where some things could gradually open up last week. And here's the sections. I won't go through this whole document, but the swim pool, saunas, those things are still closed. It's into the other regulated operators of who can operate and what precautions they need to take, and it refers to other documentation areas that people have to go to, and if people travel into New Brunswick, what the procedure is and who can or can't travel into the province. They talk about the foreign workers. So this basically is a mandatory order that covers everything. So that's one thing we're finding. There's a pile of information available on both the provincial and federal websites, and we're not going to try to duplicate all the information on ours, just provide the links for people to access it, because it changes daily, basically, the information on these. So this was brought in on May 8th, and from my understanding, that provided everything goes well, that the province will look at moving to the next phase, potentially in the next 2 weeks. And we're in the orange. I guess there was some talk of maybe them blending the orange and the yellow phase, and it would be becoming a mango phase, but I guess we stuck with the orange for now, for the next couple of weeks. So those are sort of the responses there so far for those two. I guess anybody have any questions on the provincial response?
I have two things. I noticed that the Premier is really encouraging people to step up and fill in the gaps for agriculture and aquaculture jobs. So I did ask Dan and Justine a week or two ago if they were aware of needs in our community for people who are looking for workers who don't have the workers they need. And they weren't really aware of workers. And then I contacted a few farmers that I know in the area, and they also said that's not really something that is relied on. The temporary foreign workers restriction right now does not really impact the farmers in our area. Now, Carleton County is another story. They have all kinds of different situations, but I just figure the municipalities down there would, deal with the repercussions there. But I guess, Dan, would you say that that's still what you understand, that where they're not letting temporary foreign workers in, that our service area or our community surrounding Perth Andover are not really feeling a tremendous burden resulting from that?
Yeah, no, from our understanding, there's not a lot of our local employers that have relied on those programs. There's more is down the Carleton County, Woodstock area that have relied on it in the past. I know there's employers here that are non-agriculture. I know there's one or two employers that would like to be able to access foreign workers, but that's sort of a separate issue than this year's issue.
Okay, yeah. And the other thing is about the color codes. So when they first came out with the color codes, the red, orange, yellow, green, the graphs had an extra color or something in there. And so I actually sent a text to Wes McLean, and he said he wasn't sure of the colors. And then they had all these orange shades. So there is a bit of confusion, but I think, and even the way that they're blending the phases together has a little bit to do with what the stats are like and what the results are. So I think the province is having a little trouble with their color coding, but other than that, they do seem to be moving in a direction that makes sense. As long as you just follow the updates every day, you shouldn't be that confused. Are any questions or comments from the councillors about the federal or provincial? I'm looking at everybody that I can see here. Okay. So then we'll go on then to 5A, number 3, municipal.
Okay, the current service levels we're still at the same as what we've been for the past, the month or so, the trails have opened back up in the community. We still have all of our municipal buildings closed to the public. Uh, the with the changes released in the update the other day, we're looking at operational plans for the municipal offices, which in our case would be for now would include the municipal office opening up after we get our operational plan in place, and we've ordered glass for the counters here and at the Civic Center to be installed. Hopefully that'll be installed tomorrow. But after we get, for the offices, after we get the proper signage based on the new order, we'll get the office open back up once we get our operational plan finalized and get all the physical signage and glass installed. The marina part, we're going to be able to follow, we believe, the guidelines for that to get that up and running. Staff, in talking with other communities and the concerns around the operation of the day camp versus daycare facilities, we had concerns with the intent of that. We realized that the province's intention is that when people go back to work, they need to have access to daycare for workers to have their children stay at, of course. So one of the concerns we've had is our day camp is really not set up as a daycare facility. With all the guidelines and requirements, we feel that perhaps it's a bit above what our summer students are capable of fulfilling. And we're also concerned about safety of the children and people using the facilities. So some of the communities down the river are planning to cancel their day camp programs this summer. And that would be our staff recommendation that for this year, considering the lack of funding for students this year, what appears to be lack of funding for students, the safety concerns health-wise for the participants and for staff, that it's really not worth the liability and the risk this summer to operate that program. So we'd be recommending that we not offer the day camp program this summer.
So I'll just invite any counselors to jump in with a comment about their recommendation about not opening the day camp. Any counselor want to make a comment on
that? So they won't be having any Western Valley games or anything like that, will they, Dan?
No, well, some municipalities that I'm aware of, I know one community, they've announced canceling all the recreation programs and special events for the summer. We're not recommending go that far yet. We're just sort of reacting to the different phases in the government plan whenever they announce it. And these were the 3 items that impacted us this round. But,
yeah, I kind of like wait and see.
Yeah, a lot of programs have been, a lot of special events have been canceled.
Well, it doesn't seem like any of the either level of government, provincial or federal, want to come forward and give student positions to help out municipality or businesses or anybody.
But even if we had 100 students, we would still not necessarily be wanting to go ahead with a day camp where the level of skill and responsibility and the risk are all perhaps beyond the ability of a student crowd. Isn't that what you're saying, Dan?
Yeah, that's it in part, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the way I understand it and the way I look at it too. I don't think we should put ourselves in that position.
I wouldn't take the chance either. I don't know. I just, like my grandson, I wouldn't want to put him there. You know, they want to play. That 6 feet ain't gonna mean much to them.
Yeah. And tell a little one not to touch his face.
Oh, don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, it sounds like the council is supportive of that recommendation then, Dan, to not do the day camp.
Okay, sounds good. And like, say, sort of our plan is right now, whenever the government makes changes and they're going to put all the requirements and stipulations on them, and basically the staff will review it, make recommendations back to council on whether we feel we can meet the provincial guidelines or not in a safe manner, and try to explain to council the risk and the liabilities for us either doing something or not doing something. And so I guess it was good to do this for this meeting, just to sort of give council an idea of how we're going to handle things and give council a chance to think about, how are we going to handle the liability and enforcement issues, and what's our role, what's the government's role, and also, we've got great staff and been doing a great job so far on this stuff. So we got to make sure that they're protected. They're protected also.
I think it's reassuring probably for all of us on the council to know that you're in close contact with administrators from other municipalities who are our size, and they're dealing with our climate, offering similar programs, so that everybody's best thinking or their concerns are all being shared. I think that's good. I mean, we don't want to, we might as well benefit from everybody's good sense.
Yeah, when we talked with the administrators, right, Miriam, we talked about, let's get our best thoughts around something and then have multiple communities do it. Because that way it's not a patchwork, that it's sort of a united service.
But, yeah, and we don't want, like, if we have some good ideas, we might as well be sharing them with other communities too. And because we don't want anything to happen in any municipality. It's not like we're only trying to save our own souls here. We're trying to protect everybody in New Brunswick. And so, yeah, the best thinking around, we want to take advantage of it.
Yeah. Yep, sounds good.
Okay, moving along.
So next thing, I guess, for trying to support our local businesses right now, we've been trying to share information with our email updates and our emo and COVID and our newsletter updates. The electrical discount that was given out, and we're trying to work with businesses on the marketing side, and looking at some type of shop local or love for local promotion to try to get people involved. We have sent correspondence out to all the food establishments in the community, trying to get some feedback from them on the possibility of perhaps doing an outdoor eating area in the community for people to take out food and go to. And we kicked around the idea of maybe doing one on per side of the river where we do some outdoor eating, maybe give up some of the parking spaces in a section of the downtown potentially to put some eating places in there that would make the physical distancing and all that. I know some other municipalities are looking at that. We'd also look at promoting the waterfront this year for people, that if you're going to get takeout food, why don't you come support our local businesses and take it to our beautiful waterfront park and enjoy the river and have a nice meal in the community. So that's something we're trying to work with the local restaurants with. And we're also talking to the other administrators in the other communities about maybe doing some type of regional promotion later on, like something around like burger wars that you see in other areas. Maybe we'd have a burger fest where all the restaurants in the valley put a gourmet burger on a menu, and we do a mass marketing between all the communities. So if you're in Perth Andover, stop here and try the potato burger or whatever it's going to be. And different communities or different restaurants could come up with their own. So those are kind of the ideas that we're trying to brainstorm with some of the local businesses to see what there's interest for and try to do promotion. I know one community did a survey of their local businesses, and one of the things that came back on that survey was for the municipality to help with promotion and marketing, just to get the word out that they are open, that what services and specials are having and things like that. So we'll certainly try to work with our local business. We could certainly see us using a summer student to sort of coordinate that type of a program for us for the summer, which would be nice. But
that sounds great, because people in the community are a little confused about what any business might have to offer or might be able to do. And it's a moving target anyways, because the restrictions might be different one week from the next. So I think the idea of trying to help the businesses communicate what they have to say, like even in the last week, there have been businesses putting a lot of things on social media about they're not quite open yet, like they're getting inquiries. Like I think a lot of people are eager to eat out, but they just don't know when they can even make an appointment or what the options are. So I think that's a really great thing that the municipality can be helping with.
Yeah.
Any other comments from council? Okay. Good, go ahead, next.
yeah, as far as the municipal staff levels right now, we have, I guess, seven full-time employees working. We have 3 that are off due to the closer to some facilities right now. We've had a lot of our full-time staff have been taking off some vacation days and trying to get some time off since a lot of our facilities are closed right now. So that's been working out well. Of course, with the next item, once we get into capital projects and things like that, we may have to ramp our staff levels back up and get some other support. And that's one thing we sort of talked about on that student volunteer program that I mentioned earlier, that my understanding is the federal government's going to have a program where students who want to volunteer can be given a lump sum of money towards their tuition, towards their college fees. So we're looking to potentially take advantage of that, that if there's any students in the area that have any skills that they would like to offer and volunteer, we'll come up with some areas where we could use some assistance. And at least some of these students, if they're home on the student program, maybe they could take advantage of that and get some additional funding to help them out with college. So Justine, our understanding is that the federal government's supposed to release some of the information on that by the middle of the month. So once we get that, we'll put that out to all the students that are potentially on that program that would qualify, and see if we can find something creative for them to do to help them out with the university, but also help out the community.
It's an interesting way for them to consider helping. Go ahead, Paul, you were going to say something?
No.
Okay. Okay, any questions or comments on that, counselors? Okay, then I guess we're on to 5B, capital projects.
Yeah, I've got a couple of slides here. One's the first one I have on here is our boardwalk project. I know we talked about this last month. Council was sort of wanting to put things on pause till we had further information. I know talking with Gagnon, who would be responsible for doing the underground work, that they feel that they can do that work safely and social distance the best they can during that. So council wants to go ahead with that, the start of that project now to get the underground work done. We can certainly move ahead with that if council wants.
Opinions from counselors?
No, I think that's a great idea. Do you need that in a motion or?
No, I don't think so, Paul. Just
Yeah.
Any other input from another counselor?
I agree with Paul.
I agree, Weister.
Okay. I do. Okay. I guess we want it to go. It would be nice if we're going to encourage people to hang out on the waterfront, if we could maybe get that boardwalk looking a little more attractive. So.
yeah. Well, that's good because they're going to start on Wednesday. They're booked.
Good.
You're a little confident with your counsel there, aren't you?
Well, I'll just try to plan ahead. But on that project, though, I would like council to go over and take one last look at that railing before we put the tender out to paint it.
Okay, so tell us exactly what you want us to be thinking about with the railing, and tell us your opinion.
Well, I guess one of the concerns that we have expressed last year is that after we did the work last fall, the actual condition of that railing, and it's had another winter under it. Structurally, the railing is nothing special. It's sturdy and things. We're not worried about that. But as far as the cost to paint it, it's going to cost us probably somewhere in the $20,000+ to paint the railing. I guess in that old railing, does council want to go that route? I know when we met last year, council felt that they wanted to save the railing. We're going to have a brand new curb and a brand new sidewalk, and then we're going to have this older railing that may not be as nice and attractive as everything else, and maybe one of those things that after the fact that council do that. So I guess I'm just sort of hoping that if council, I guess if you ever want to change your mind, now would be the time to.
Okay, we're not going to change our mind to say, okay, new railing, whatever that would be. Like, so you gave us some information last fall on costs of alternative railings.
Yeah.
Can you put that all together and send it to us again, so that if you're saying that you really think it's going to look like a scuzzy railing, and we already talked about it once and thought it was okay, but you're still thinking maybe we might want to rethink it, I need to see the costs and the other options another time, but I'm not just sure where I would go look for those things.
That's no problem.
If you go over and look now, you can see that it is not a nice, a nice railing. And it
So-
has many bins and that, so I wouldn't want to be breaking the bank on it, but it's worth looking at right now.
Yeah, I had a local person in the community tell me we were out of our minds to be trying to save that railing.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, we need advice from our town manager if it's really that bad an idea. So,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
so-
I'll get some more information there. As like I said, I didn't want to put the painting tender out until council had a, I wouldn't say a sober look at it, but another look at it.
okay, we're being strongly encouraged to reconsider that decision, council. So please
Take a look at
do
it.
take a look, and then Dan will send us the other options again so we can put this thing, make a decision. Okay, so there's the boardwalk.
Yeah, sounds good. So next thing, we're glad this come up. This is a water and sewer line extension on Foster Street in the industrial park. We have one of our tenants in the industrial park is expanding their business. So we're going to be extending the water and sewer up along Foster Street to service the new building. So that's a nice project for the community to have when businesses are expanding in the community. So that's nice. And typically for municipal streets, line extensions in the industrial park, typically the municipality would pick up that cost. Other projects, the SCADA improvements, these are probably now 80% done. Up the booster station in Fred Tribe Road, we're looking at doing something there now. How that works now, it's got the booster pump there now either it starts or stops quite regularly. Like it'll run for say 3 minutes and then shut off and then run for 3 minutes. So we're looking at switching that over to a variable drive mechanism on the pump. So it'll be a gradual, more constant flow. And when there's more demand on it, the pump would speed up. And when there's less demand, it would slow down. It'd all be based on the pressure. We're thinking that'll save some wear and tear on the equipment and provide more constant pressure to everyone up there. So that's an improvement for that. We've done SCADA upgrades to most of our lift stations now are complete. I don't know if you've noticed this working in around the school or over by the Bank of Montreal. We've been putting new panels in there with the new communications equipment, and we're also in the process of upgrading the communications at the lagoon facility. And our mapping project that we've been working on, we were going to do training on that, but of course with the COVID stuff, that all got postponed. So we're going to try to reschedule that and see if we can do something online. Hodges surveying is going to be in the community to pick up some of the additional points on that project, for different shutoff valves and valving for our mapping system. And of course we have our normal chip seal streets that we try to do pretty much every year. We had the first coat last year on the, or first two coats, sorry, on the new street extension, Pickett Street. So we have to go back and redo that. And we've got another, I think, layer to put on Pond Street this year. So those are the ones we had in the plan. We've also done up, worked with Gagnon Construction. We've come up with the electric utility mitigation plans. We basically took in all of our electrical assets that are in the floodplain and come up with projects around that would mitigate against future damage to our infrastructure. And some of these are pole lines or along the river, moving them to the other side of the road and getting them back and things like that. We have a line down past the hospital. You guys are probably aware that those poles are basically right on the riverbank, and we have some guide wires that secure the poles, but in the spring of the year, if the ice is high, we actually have to go disconnect the guide wires to try to save the poles. So it would be nice at some point to get that line out of there. We've held off on doing it just in case there was a future realignment of the road by the hospital there, but I don't know if that merits holding out for, or do we just go ahead and do the work? And of course, we're working on different project proposals with the green space project. We've got the Glen Group in Fredericton coming up with a draft plan for the committee to look at. And the municipal building project, I guess, as far as the committee meetings and stuff like that, we've pretty much stopped. Still waiting for feedback from one of the service clubs on that project. There was some talk about that project plus potentially a joint service club building in the community potentially. Still haven't heard anything back on that. And of course, now we're trying to get as many building repairs and improvements done too while the buildings are closed to the public. So we've been working on those. And other projects to be considered, I'd like council to think about too, and maybe if you're checking the railing out, is to take a look at the tennis courts, because it appears tennis might be coming back in style this summer. And our tennis courts are on a scale of 1 to 10, they're not above a 5. But, they'd be definitely in the 2 or 3. So you could take a look at those. Now, one thing too, that if we have the curbing company in town doing that section of curb for the new boardwalk, if there are any other sections in town that councillors feel that are in desperate shape, like I know the curbing from the Irving to the hospital on the right side of the road on the riverside in spots is in bad shape. So if there's any sections like that for curbing or sidewalks that need repair, if council could look at those, maybe we could consider touching up some of those. We do have some sections of sidewalks in the community that have trip hazards on them that we need to address. So if we're going to have the curbing machine here, it's an ideal time to do those repairs while they're in town, make it a little better pricing. So I guess those are the projects on the plate right now. If council has any questions on any of those, or
And that sidewalk up around Perth Hill from, say, Sadler's up to where you go up to Terrace Street there.
Yep.
Is that the town's or is that the government's?
well, it's a provincial road, and the DTI just finished up the engineering work. They gave us funding there, if you remember, to redesign, repairing that Gabion wall. And they basically looked at, I think, 4 different options on how to repair that wall. And those have been sent to DTI now for consideration. And in those plans would be to, whatever repairs are done there, be done in a way that we could actually have a usable sidewalk on that hill.
Yeah, well, I really noticed it today. I never noticed it before. That Gabion wall, those rock cages are really, really leaning out.
Yeah.
And that could be a big concern if we have a, wet summer, or if we have, I don't know, a lot of snow there next winter, but it's really leaning out towards the sidewalk bad.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that later on, like the provincial inquiry for our 5-year plan, that council would bring up again about getting that done, especially now that the engineering work's already done, to give DTI options on how to proceed. So it's hopefully when it does fall in, I guess it's sort of like the next flood. It's going to happen at some point. We just don't know when, but that Gabion wall is going to be laying on that road some morning, no doubt.
Yeah, it is.
Jason, you had,
drilling, doing test holes on the road.
Yeah, I did. I walked 2 things actually. I walked by the tennis courts the other night, and somebody was actually using them, and it would be one of the sports that would be socially distancing. So yes, maybe the tennis courts do need to have a little fix up. But when you were talking about the lift stations and stuff, Danny, it reminded me, we had talked before about the well house too on the Andover side, and what ever became of that situation?
We had funding application and we got rejected. And so one thing I was looking at doing now, Jason, is taking the electric light mitigation for that utility and putting that in with the water utility mitigation that we need, and putting the 2 projects together and applying to the federal government for funding was our thought.
Okay, thanks.
I noticed that piece of wall coming up to RCMP Street on the Perth side. I walked by that numerous times in the last few weeks, and that wall's a mess again. And I know a few years ago, different people contacted almost everybody on the council to try and get that fixed up. So that's something you could put on the list of things that need fixing.
Yeah, like those rocks that or the brick system or whatever it was, we put it on the other end of Terrace Street. Like maybe something like that needs to be done down there too, that because it seems to be an ongoing issue. You're right.
Anything else, councillors, about all these projects? Just looking. Okay. It sounds like somebody maybe just have a little bit of static or something going on there. I guess we can go on to number 6, correspondence.
Yeah, this is what I just mentioned about DTI. It's an annual letter inquiring with the municipality about our 5-year plan, and I would assume that the issues that we submitted last year haven't been fully completed. So I assume we just resubmit those with the Gavian Wall intersection there being the number one priority. And the hard part of this is that there's 100 municipalities trying to compete for a limited amount of funding for these projects. So it's certainly tough for the provincial government, but I guess if we don't ask for it, we shall not receive, so.
Okay. You don't happen to remember what the 5 were that we put in last year?
I don't have it in front of me, but I can get that to council.
Yeah, we could maybe take a look at it just to review what we believe to be the priority. Okay.
We had the road going down from the bridge to the hospital as one of the priorities.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, okay. Okay, we'll go on to 6B, the National Public Alert System.
Yeah, I put this in just the municipality received some correspondence on this after the tragic event in Nova Scotia. This is sort of a reminder sent out by New Brunswick EMO about the National Public Alerting System for municipalities to use. So this is something that, for example, that if we did have an emergency, that a person appointed from the municipality could basically fill out the needed requirements for this and get it posted. So I guess I just want the council to be aware that program is available here in New Brunswick also. And in the event we did have to use it, we certainly have access to it.
So just to follow, so what you're saying is if there was an incident that caused alarm in our community, the municipality would have the wherewithal to put out like a beep, 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 beep to people's cell phones that says stay home or do something? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's basically I guess the 5 points of this is that there's someone from the municipality that has the approval of the authority from council to do the alert. And also that they would have to give a general but detailed description to NBEMO with the context and background of the incident, including anticipated future activities, the location, as well as recommendation on where we feel the alerts need to go. Like say, for example, if ours was a flooding issue, we would want it for our area, so to speak, Victoria County. And also the timelines of the incident. And then we have to let NBEMO know when the threat no longer exists. So this is, I think it's just more of a reminder that look, this service is out there and municipalities, if you need to, can take advantage of it.
If it was a shooting type thing though, the RCMP would be on top of that way before the municipality would think about putting something out. Would it be? Like, I mean, they weren't actually in the Nova Scotia situation. That was part of the concern there about when people were alerted. But is that, like, if there was somebody with a gun, would the RCMP use this particular system, or would they do their own, do Twitter or something else, and then we would maybe want to jump in and do this?
Yeah, well, my understanding is that the RCMP now is developing their own policy and procedures on using these alerts. So I'm sure that'll be something that they address going forward. But at the end of the day, I guess if it's in our community, I guess we wouldn't necessarily want to rely just on other people to provide us a service. If it was something that we were aware of, we would certainly want to be proactive also.
So would you be able to make that call yourself, or would it need me or the council?
Well, I think it just typically, I think what they've done is whoever the council's appointed, and I don't know, I think some places it's the mayor, deputy mayor, and some places I think it's the EMO coordinator. I think just long as there's someone appointed to do that, to make that call. It's not something that you would want to have to wait and have a council meeting for.
Yeah. So should we make sure somebody, like, we know, like, I guess I'm just really feeling for the people in those communities in Truro, and what they wish would have happened. And so do we need to firm this up right now and say, okay, who has the authority, just so we know if it happens on the way home from the meeting tonight?
Yeah. I think originally when this came out a few years ago, I think the council sort of designated it to staff, to the CAO, the EMO coordinator, whoever is appointed.
Yep.
Just because chances are they're the ones that are around and are aware of the system and what the requirements are and things like that. So
Yeah. Okay, so that makes sense to me. What, and the rest of the councilor, what do you think?
I think it's a great idea, especially since we had a couple of emergencies here in our community with the forest fire when the bombers had to be brought in to put the fire out.
Okay, that sounds good. So, and I'm sure that if you were about to do that, you'd be letting the council know, or letting me know, and I'd let the council, or something or other. Yeah. So, and you'd be the one that would actually know how to actually physically do an alert. So that makes sense. So I just want us to be clear that, so you have the authority to do that, you have the wherewithal to do it. And so if people in our community were saying, hey, what would happen if something like Truro happened in Carlingford or in Arthurette or something, we can say we actually have the authority, and in addition to the RCMP, we would be considering whether to jump in and use that. We can tell people.
If we make a recommendation to MBEMO, it doesn't necessarily mean that they would automatically post it. They may come back and say, well, look, we're getting information from the RCMP or whoever, but we certainly have the ability to contact MBEMO to make them aware of our concerns and what we need to.
Okay, so to clarify then, we're not putting out the alert. We're telling the MO that we want an alert put out.
Well, it depends on situation too. Like the one, for example, if there's one in Carlingford or outside the municipality, I don't know how much responsibility our municipality has outside other than being a good neighbor.
Yes.
But but inside the municipality, we certainly would.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. Anything else about that from the councilors? Questions, comments? No. Okay. Then we'll move on to the public library concerns, 6C.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys didn't get this earlier. I know some councilors received some of the information earlier from a lady with concerns on the hiring at the library position. This lady wrote remarkably a 9-page letter to the premier and had an article in the Daily Gleaner that's included in your kit there. And what she's asking is that municipalities consider sending a similar letter of support regarding the hiring process, I should say.
So I think I just forget if I said this in an email or something else. Like I share the concerns, but I recognize that the municipality does not normally comment on hiring. We take our library very seriously in this community, and lots of us are users. Dan, would you say it's not normally something that a municipal council should take a step on? That doesn't preclude anybody else of us on council who might want to send an individual letter. But
Yeah, for my, Mary Ann, or Mayor Bell, the municipality generally doesn't take positions on individual persons. However, if it's on a position or a job or something, a general thing that's not directed at a particular individual, like say, for example, if the council's position on this was that they feel that in the future the hiring should be done in this process, not necessarily saying something against or for the candidate who has the job now, but more the process, more on the process than the individual.
And you're talking about the process going forward, not
Right.
on the process in the past. Okay, so, and like I see that because we just might not like somebody, but so if where I'm an active library user and I have a lot of respect for the Master Library Science or whatever, I can write a letter myself saying, boy, this was a bad idea, but it wouldn't really be appropriate for me to sign it as the mayor of the community, right? I should just sign it as a library user.
Yeah, not unless council as a whole is in support of sending a letter.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily think that I want to go that way, but I might send my own letter, but I'll just send it as myself. Anybody who wants to guess what I might do in my municipality can do that, but I'm not trying to represent the community. Is that the way we should go then with that in terms of responding?
Yeah, and I think too that if individual, and we've done that in the past too with councils, that the council as a group didn't respond, but if individual councilors would like to send their own letter to, like, for example, if the mayor and deputy mayor each wanted to send a letter and other councilors, we'll mean individually send them. You know, council's done that way in the past.
But again, we wouldn't even indicate that we were on the council though, right? We would say we are on the council, but we're only speaking as an individual. How would we just word that?
Yeah, I think you could say something that being on council, we're alerted of this issue through correspondence at a meeting, and I personally feel this is, offensive or great or whatever your individual positions are on it.
Okay. Sheila, you're associated with the library on the board and so on. Do you have anything you want to add to this?
No, I think that I would rather do my own letter. I won't be doing it. And do you want my report on what's happening at the library right now, or do you want that in the other report coming up in reports?
Maybe we'll talk about it now because it says public library concerns. We're talking about the library.
So today was the first day that Tammy went back to work. And she said that they were working and enabling them to open it. So she and the person, janitor who does the work there, Maura Lemieux, are working right now. And today she was supposed to have a meeting this afternoon on the procedures that they will have to go through in order to open the library. And then she'll work from that. And then Mad should be able to come back within the next week or so. And then they'll look at, so she'll know more of the procedures probably when I talk to her later this evening. She'll have more of an idea of what has to happen for it to open.
Okay.
It is a problem that the cleaning time is going to take much more. It's going to cost us more money to clean the library to the extent that they want things sanitized.
That'll be a problem in every single organization or business.
Yep.
Everybody's wiping everything down. It takes a whole lot more labor and time and supplies.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, I think that's the end then of the correspondence. Any other questions or comments about any of that, councillors? Okay, so then we'll move on to number 7, reports.
Yeah, the municipal plan report, I'd sent that out. Unfortunately, I didn't have all of our stats updated, so I just included the actual attachment to things. I highlighted a couple of things. We're looking with doing a partnership possibly with NB Power on the hot water heater rentals in the community. Just having some preliminary discussions on that. Also working on our EV charging stations. Our municipal group, we have a tender out now to acquire over 100 charging units for the 8 municipalities that are participating in it. I even talked to maybe with the number that we have for our community, maybe sharing one with Bristol Florenceville, since we may not need all 5 or 6 in our community, as we may be able to share one with some people downriver. So I'll come back at the next meeting with the final. We had our preliminary site locations that we put in. Surprisingly, we talked to one of our schools in the community about possibly installing one at the school, and the school wasn't interested, surprisingly. So we're going to confirm up our possible sites for the next council meeting, hopefully, and run those by council. On those, and we talked about the mitigation project, and of course, a lot of time now is going to be spent developing operational plans for all the different facilities and programs that we open back up as the government moves different phases. And again, I'd like to thank all of our staff for doing a great job keeping the day-to-day services going in the community, and trying to keep things as normal as we can while they physically distance from each other the best we can. Right now we have employees that are working, not traveling in the same vehicles together, and trying to still keep employees separated. And we've been doing some repairs on our buildings and get them all looking good, but unfortunately we can't allow anybody in to use them now, but we'll be ready for when they can come back, hopefully. So those are the sort of things going on. Like I mentioned earlier, we've had a lot of staff getting some time off now where it's been quiet in our buildings and things. So hopefully we'll get back and running to the new normal soon.
Okay. Questions or comments from councilors? Okay. Then I guess we're on to council members' reports. Oh, no, sorry, fire department.
Yeah,
We'll do fire department. We'll do fire department first.
Okay, included in your kit, there's the fire reports. The calls are in April were 14. The year-to-date calls were 37. That's down from last year being 50 calls last year. So that's good news that the calls were down significantly to then. I know we've had some more calls over the weekend and things now that people can unfortunately start brush fires and grass fires and things. It's certainly a shame. I know Mayor Bell mentioned this in our newsletter that it certainly puts our firefighters at risk, because the firemen can't obviously social distance going to a fire, and we certainly don't want them out any more than they need to be, and being out for these nuisance calls. It's not something that's good for the individual firemen or the community as a whole. So we would like people to certainly stop lighting these fires and put a halt to it.
Questions or comments about the fire report?
Yeah, I just had one. I noticed, like you said, Dan, it's down quite a bit. And I know we had talked about speaking with the other communities and approaching the province or Fredericton about how they handle the call volume to us. And is that as a result perhaps of that, or?
I think in part I talked to Philip, the fire chief, this morning, and there was a call on the weekend about a vehicle accident. And basically when they called us, we're asking some questions, getting clarification, and sort of trying to work with them to see if we're actually needed or not. So I think they're a bit more flexible on the calls that we have to go to. So hopefully that's part of it. Yeah, hopefully.
Any other questions or comments from councilor? Okay, then we'll go on to the council member reports. I know there's not a lot of meetings going on. I tried to sort of follow up a little bit with the premier on April 21st. I emailed him a question about healthcare reform and asked him to talk about it in his press conference. And then on the next day, he mentioned healthcare reform, but all he said was that he was continuing to be committed to checking out the communities for feedback when he does healthcare consultations. So anyways, the mayor of Sackville is working on talking about talking to the premier about moving ahead with healthcare reform in a reasonable way and so on. So, but it's pretty low key. There hasn't really been anything happening in that regard. So really the only things that I've done, I've been preparing video messages that I also provide the text for the weekly newsletter, and they're posted on the village website. And then I did collect information about locally made community face masks, and I put that out on my social media, and it's been shared by the village last week on this day. And then I did a telephone interview with Corinne at the Victoria Star about the masks. And I posted about the press conferences. This week for the video message, I'm gonna actually talk a lot more about community face masks, because I think people are not taking, for all the people that are buying masks, there's an awful lot of people not wearing them. And so that's what I'm probably gonna harp on a little bit when I talk to the community this week. But I will just say again to the counselors that if you think that there's something in the community that it would be useful for me to address, I'm willing to consider your idea. I sort of try and keep the highlights. The general gist of it is get your right sources and follow the instructions. So I'll just invite, let's see, I'll go around the virtual table here and I'll ask Sheila about activities this last month.
Better on mute. I have been receiving some calls from people in the community with concerns about people, and I just again have been giving the numbers to call and report that don't call the village office. That's not our responsibility. These are the numbers to take care of that. Been following up with the library, trying to make sure that we can have things ready and working with them for what needs to happen there. Is pretty much it. And
yeah,
be it.
Okay. Paul, anything to report?
No, nothing on my end, other than I was up and checked the progress of the industrial park, and it's all looking good there, what they're doing there. It's,
okay.
Yeah, looking good.
Good. Cindy? I think you're on mute, Cindy. We're not hearing you. You're on mute. Can you turn off can you unmute, Cindy?
Sorry about that.
No problem.
No, I haven't been doing anything really in the area. I've just been prepping to open up businesses.
Okay. And Jason?
Nothing to report.
Okay. All righty. Thank you, counselors, for continuing on. Today would have been our election day in New Brunswick, so we've all received an extension. Lucky or unlucky, we are continuing on for quite likely a year, I'm going to guess, but we'll see. So thank you for being present. All right, so now we're on then to item 8 on the agenda, bylaws. Municipal plan update. Yes, what's happening with this?
Yeah, so the consulting firm has the draft plans done. We're struggling with the same thing. Ironically, the town of Woodstock and Bristol Lawrenceville are also, we're all at the same stage. We've all had our municipal plans drafted, but everyone now is struggling with how do you have the public consultation and the public meetings and things. So none of the communities have come up with a surefire way to do that yet. No one's, they're talking about trying to do them virtually and things, and a lot of people feel that it's just not in it's not on everybody's radar right now. So it's sort of, in some communities are on pause, although some municipalities are concerned with the changes that they want in their plan. They'd like to get them passed through sooner rather than later. So they're trying to come up with some ways to do some bridging, that if somebody wants something that doesn't meet the standards in the old plan, but it does in the new plan, can they grant some type of variance for that? So I guess all communities are sort of in a struggle. I think with our plan, we don't seem to have any big pushing issues right now, where things are pretty quiet in the communities. So I guess council, at some point, once we get some more information from the other communities on how they're going to handle it, if they come up with a good idea, a way to do it. We're sort of hoping that once they release the restrictions, maybe more where you could have more than 10 people at a time in a room, then potentially we could do some public consultations, and maybe instead of doing a public meeting, so to speak, wherever some people spoke at whatever time, maybe we could do a drop-in session where the public could drop in and for 3 hours in the afternoon and 2 hours in the evening and ask any questions they have about the plan and things. But we'll certainly, once we do that, we'll make the documents available on all of our websites and in our newsletter and everything. So
The kind of ironic thing is that although we need a public meeting, there might not be more than 10 people from the community that would be interested in attending anyways, right? So we could probably have anyways.
yes.
But yeah, I think a drop-in, I think that might work, like especially if we said, you know, you could sign up for which time slot you wanted to be in, if we could stagger people so that they weren't the 11th person. But another possibility, I suppose, could be if we did something, say, in the bandstand on a really good afternoon and had people all distanced all around the bandstand.
Yeah, like one discussion was around, do you do it the same as church services now? You
Yeah.
have people come stay in their cars and do it that way. So,
Yeah.
and I don't know how keen people are on a rural plan. So,
Yeah, or like what's a big tent is outside, right? So you could put a lot of people 6 feet apart under a tent. It would still have a feeling of a meeting. Anyways, that's
Yeah.
not today's. You're going to be looking at how other people do it and figuring out the plan there. So,
yeah, right on. Yeah.
okay. Any comments from the counselors on that? Okay. Well then, I see there seem to be no motions and notices of motions, no new business. So we only need a motion to adjourn. I'm looking through for the counselor. I heard Paul's voice, I think. Or no, maybe Jason's, I don't know.
No, me.
It's Paul.
Paul.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you very much. So, so we had said that we were going to have maybe a small conversation about something, but you know, we don't really have the Zoom link. So could we discuss that other little thing through email, Dan? It's more a matter of you just telling us what somebody's decided about, right?
Yes, I certainly can. Sure.
So why don't we just end the meeting then here for tonight, and then you could send the information about that
Yep, sounds
that
good.
topic by email. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you everyone for participating in tonight's meeting. Our next meeting is the committee meeting on the 25th, is that right?
Yes.
So we'll meet again some sunny day. Maybe it will even be able to be an indoor meeting. Woohoo, in the council chambers, if we're really lucky.